Good morning. Hand today is going to be Jack 10 of Hearts. In this hand, I open raise. We are five-handed and we get a call. Now, what I'm going to do is open up my range because both players have a pretty high fold to steal stat. Chance that both of them are going to be folding is well over 40% of the time. So, because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and raise basically all suited, about half of the offsuit, all the pocket pairs and so forth, and I got called. So this guy's gonna call, I say about 30% of the time. He raises about 3%, and when we look at his stats, we have a lot of hands. His raise from the big blind's about 3%, so that's about like queens plus, or yeah, queens plus, ace king with maybe ace queen suited, maybe also included in it is jacks. That's all a possibility. But definitely this is looking like a range that's something like that. So right off the bat, I have a lot more hands in my range that I'm going to have to deal with, and that means my c-bet stat isn't going to be very large at all. It just kind of depends on the flop. The more likely that we'll have like flush or straight draws on the board, then the higher the c-bet stat will be. So the flop comes up, king queen 3, which is decent. We could rep a diamond. I think we could probably barrel on a diamond. We could barrel obviously on any straight card. We've got ace, we've got 9 would obviously be good. I think ace king would be betting, ace queen would be betting, king queen would obviously be betting. I don't think he has kings and queens, so you know, trips I think are out of the question for him. But he could have king queen. So villain checks, I think that's, you know, not surprising. And then we're going to c-bet, but we're not going to c-bet everything. So we do have sets 2 pair. We would c-bet flush draw open ender. So that's 10% right there. And that means we need to add a few more hands to our c-betting range, and if we add ace king, that gets us there. So I don't think we have to worry about ace king. So I think king jack, king 10 are all going to be viable hands, probably possibility of good hands that could take it, and I think those are hands we probably would keep in our c-betting range. Now we do have all of our flush draws that we're betting. That's 8% of our range, and I think that's okay. And you could see that right now we're looking at 15%. We could add some gut shots as well. So if we add all of our gut shots, that brings it up to 19%, which means then we could start firing some of our top pair hands, more of our top pair hands, and possibly like king jack, and then maybe even like king 2, king 4. We're looking at possibly getting value from like a queen. I kind of think king 6 to king 10, or maybe even king 10. That's getting us pretty good. So that could be a decent c-betting range. So we're gonna go with that. So almost 30%, 28%. We c-bet, villain calls. What kind of hands does he call with? Well, obviously he's going to be calling with 2 pair. I'm going to say maybe this 2 pair is probably going to raise. Even the set's probably going to raise at this point. Go for a check raise. I think top pair probably just check calls. Let's check his flop stats. Check raise is 7%. Yeah, I think that's consistent with 2 pair and trips. That he's probably in position a bit more, so he probably raises like top pair type hands and some draws. What about on the turn? Check raise as well, 2 pair trips, possibly straights or flushes that connect. So we're gonna go top pair. I think possibly middle pair as well. Maybe he calls pocket pair less than second card, so jacks, 10s, 9s. His fold c-bet stats at about 60%, so not unusual. not terribly unusual. I'm going to add the gut shots. I'm going to add open ender flush draw to them. And I think that's probably going to be it. So he's got 8 of diamonds, so that improves. I think this is definitely a hand that we would fire at again. I think that's a good barreling card. Now I'm feeling leads here, and I think that's interesting because you know, why would you lead if you had the nut flush? Why would you lead if you have a flush? I think it makes more sense to check and let me bet, and then if I check behind, then you lead. Try to get some value at that point. So if we look at his turn, his donk bet's 34%. Looks like he does this fairly regularly, which wouldn't, I think the percentage is too high for only doing it when he makes his draws. So I don't think the flush is going to be doing that. I kind of feel like it's going to be like a middle pair type hand, maybe a top pair type hand. Maybe not even all top pair. No, middle pair because he thinks he's good. Maybe the flush draw. We're going to leave the flush draw in there. Maybe the open ender. That he's betting here. Yeah, he's betting here to see, do I actually have it? Probably not the gut shot. I mean, it could be. Maybe he has the gut shot with like an 8, like 8, 9. No, 9, 10. No, it doesn't make sense. We'll go 45%. That kind of makes a little bit more sense. Now the question is, what do we do? We were already planning to see bet. I think this is a good one where we could raise. I don't think he's going to fold. I think he's on that diamond. I think the worst card that could come is a diamond at this point. I think we would raise our flush. Maybe not all of them. Obviously, if he has the ace, he knows we don't have the ace. Yeah, I think we could raise the flush. What's his stack size? Well, his stack size isn't too great. So if we raise, we're raising it up to 18 is pot size bet. So we could raise it up to 10. If he shoves, we're going to be forced to call. I think we would be okay with the flush because I think this kind of looks like it's still a flush draw. So probably raise with the flush, probably raise with the set, probably go for 2 pair. Top pair, I do think we're going to be raising. And that means then that we would also probably raise it with our draws. So I kind of like that. These draws also have a pair with them. So I kind of like raising it here. I think if we raise, I think he calls. I think he folds the middle pair, which is kind of what we want when we're on a draw. And that makes up almost 52%. But he'd probably call with the draws. And I didn't do that. I kind of feel like that's a mistake here. We're going to go on as if we were raising it. Ace of spades comes out, which connects with us, and he bets 2 again. And the question is, what's he bets small. He bets small again. This looks like, I don't think it looks like it's a straight for him at all. I don't even think it's like a 2 pair. I think it's maybe a top pair, middle pair, weak pair. Maybe something like that. And again, maybe it's 2 pair. I guess 2 pair could fit if he's scared of the flush and now the straight. But I kind of feel like it's going to be like a 1 pair type hand. And I'm not even sure top pair. I think middle pair, weak pair. I think something like that. And the question is, if I raise, what does he call? Obviously, if he has a top pair, he's probably going to call that. If he has 2 pair, he's probably going to call that. I think we should be raising the flush. I kind of feel like we should be raising the straight too. I think we're going to get called by hands that give us value. So I didn't raise. He shows king 10, which is kind of interesting. So that is kind of a top pair type hand. Well, middle pair at this point, king 10. And we had it in his range, so it was kind of consistent with how we expected him. And I think we lost value. I don't think he's going to fold. I think if we raise, I think he's probably going to call. So if we go back to the turn on this part, we raise. He's probably going to call. And then once we connect with the ace, we could check it down at that point. We still make more than what we made in this hand. Is how it played out, but we could then bet again, maybe small, and get another king to call. That's maybe 50% chance that he calls with that top pair. Or we call that turn bet, and then on the river when he bets here, we raise, and we raise it up to 10. And I think we get, I do think we probably get called by king. He may fold and show the king, but I think we could easily do that, and so he lost value. So if we looked at his ranges, we do have called 2 bets from blind range. We have a lot of those, king 9, king 10 suited. If we look at offsuit hands, we've got king 10 off, queen jack, queen 9, jack 10, 6 5. So maybe we don't necessarily have all of these ace 9s, but probably those, maybe that as well. So I think we read this okay. We made mistakes, but that's why we focus on it. I do think, based on our hands, based on what we would have c-bet, this was a great barrel range. Once he dongs, I think we raise it, and we play for it, because I think he's going to fold like the queen hands, which would be great for us. And if he doesn't, we still have draws. We still have good draws that may actually get paid on the river. So hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.